Hey everyone, this is me, Undead Viking. I want to talk to you about this game. It is called Aeon's End. Aeon's End is a cooperative deck building game in which each person will be taking the role of a mage that is one of the last defenders of this town of Gravehold. And basically the end of the world has come and gone. Well, technically not the whole end of the world because there's still people there and the world is still there. But it's very close to being all but over. The fat lady is getting ready to sing, and these horrible, evil, demonic monsters, Nemesis, nameless creatures are like rampaging on the gates of Gravehold, and each person has been basically humanity's last hope, if you will. As I said, they're spellcasters, and what they're going to be doing is they're going to be trying to like unlock magical powers, magical secrets, magical relics that they'll use to defeat some big giant demon lord Cthulhu-esque type of monster that is trying to smash down the last vestiges of humanity. Now, this is a really, really fun game. I'm going to fully admit, I was very surprised by this one. I'll talk about more of that in conclusion. But let me show you how the game is played. If you've played deck builders before, you might be saying, okay, it's a deck builder, I've played this. No, actually, there's some stuff in here that actually kind of puts and turns things on its end a little bit, and I would strongly suggest you taking the time to watch how it's played, and just so you can kind of figure out exactly what there is to Aeon's End. Alright, so let's go through this, and then I'll come back here and I'll tell you why I am digging it. Alright, this is Aeon's End. I'm going to teach you how to play the game. I'm not going to give you like a walkthrough or anything like that, but I am going to just kind of show you the mechanisms of the game and how you progress through the turns. Now, this is a deck building game, and wait, just let me continue here. It's a deck building game, but it has some weird things, has some cool little nuances and what have you that, you know, kind of spin the genre on its ear a little bit. So let me just kind of explain those quickly. Just as you can probably guess, because of the fact that this is a, like, you're a deck builder, but you have a character, you have a person that you control, and then the people have different abilities that you can enact, and plus they're not all the same. They all have the same hit points. Everybody's got 10 hit points, and they have to, like, kind of, you know, stay alive. If you get knocked down to 0 hit points, it doesn't mean you're dead, you're just considered exhausted, and when you're exhausted, bad things happen. You can't, you know, as far as like if you were going to take damage, instead the damage is done to the town that you're trying to save, Gravehold, and then you double that damage. You know, so if you were like, if you're exhausted and you took 2 points of damage, the city Gravehold would take 4 points of damage. So it's not a good idea to be exhausted. Plus, if everybody at the table becomes exhausted, then you automatically lose. So just something to keep in mind. But the thing is that each person has their own character, they have a little special power, they have their starting hand and also their starting deck, and these are all different. Plus, they have these symbols up here, which correspond with these up here. These are your breaches that you're going to be used to, like, put spells in. And when you have an open breach, like this one right here, you're able to take a spell card from your hand and place it in that breach. And that's like a magical influx of power and allows you to cast that spell. And so once you go ahead and put that in there, then you're able to cast that spell on the next turn. You can't cast a spell in the same turn that you have. In some cases, like other players on their turn could allow you to cast your spell before your next turn comes around. But for the most part, you're going to put a spell into a breach and then you cast it on your next turn. And these are closed breaches that you can focus to open by spending, you know, your resources to do so, or you can just flat out open them and then you flip them over like so. Now, I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself, but let me just talk about that really quickly. So the whole idea on your turn is that you can focus these breaches, and then you can put a spell in there. So you kind of like, it's kind of like cracking open the door just a little bit, then allows you to like get ready that spell ready without fully opening the breach. But each one of these little cards, they'll have like this one side, and it kind of has this circle, meaning you're going to spin it like this. And so it'll tell you Right there, it costs 7 resources, 7 coins, 7 of this, essence, if you will, to allow you to open it, and that would allow you to flip it over completely. Now, if you also notice here, it says it costs 4 to focus, and so if you focus it, you then get to spin the card, like so. And so when you spin the card, then you notice it costs less in that situation. So you can see, like, that's how, like, why you would focus over opening, because you might overall end up spending more resources in general to do it, but you will you can kind of halvesies it out, if you will, and pay over time, and then allow you to also use those spots. So, and some of them, as you can see, both the level 3 and level 4 breach have this +1 damage token there, and then that means, like, if you have a spell on here and you cast it, they're going to do an extra point of damage. And you'll notice on the other side it actually has that as well. So just keep that in mind. Plus, you'll notice that, like, the cards will actually tell you how you set those up to begin the game, depending upon the character, and those are not the same for each character. So there you go. So also, because you are going to be fighting against these horrible nameless, or demons, or whatever, they're called nameless in this game, you have a varied number of them that you can fight against. And so you hear, I have the Prince of Gluttony that I've picked to fight. And each one of them, now you might expect, okay, so they're going to have a power, they're going to have an attack, and they're going to have some little, like doohickey that they do. But these things are actually pretty varied as far as the way that they attack the players and attack Gravehold, and also how you have to do battle against them. The Prince of Gluttony, actually, what he does is he consumes, this is like the classic, deck building, this is your piles of supply that you get to buy from. He consumes cards out of the supply, and actually at the very beginning, he's already done that. He's purchased 3 of the gem cards, or not purchased, he's eaten 3 of the gem cards, and you place that. That's considered the Prince of Gluttony's belly. And the cool thing about the Prince of Gluttony is that you're actually able to buy the cards out of his belly like a supply. But the thing is that he keeps eating and eating and eating these, and if he ever gets to the point where he eats all of the cards, or there's no cards left here in the middle, then you automatically lose. That's a way that you can lose the game against the Prince of Gluttony. But as you can see, there are several other little guys here. Here we have, like the Crooked Mask. We have the Carapace Queen, which has a whole new extra track that you use when you're playing with the Carapace Queen. And then we have Rageborn here. And so these are all varied, different nameless creatures that you're going to have to do battle against. And, like, obviously, when in a game like this, having more and more options like these will make the game fresh and keep the game going and make it interesting. And you can actually kind of turn it into a campaign, if you will. Like, okay, we're going to fight Prince of Gluttony first, and then we're going to fight Rageborn, and then we're going to move on to the Carapace Queen and something like that. You can kind of turn it into a situation where how long can we last kind of thing. Anyway, so that's that. Now, I'm really getting kind of jumping around. I apologize for that. But so you have your starting deck, and you get your starting cards. You know exactly what your starting cards are going to be. And plus, the 5 cards that make up your little deck here, those are exactly as they say. And you have to put them together in exactly the right order. So you can see the starting deck would be, for this person, would be 3 crystal and then 2 sparks. You put 3 crystal on top and then 2 spark underneath. And the reason for that is because this, unlike other deck builders, as you put cards into your discard pile, you are placing them in order. And when you run out of cards, as normal, like you run out of cards, so you have to draw some, you are going to take the cards off the discard pile, and you don't shuffle them. Okay, you hear me? You don't shuffle your discard pile. And you immediately just flip them over and put them over to the other side, and you begin going. Now, this opens up a ton of different avenues because of the fact that when you get done with your turn, after you play your cards, and any cards you don't play, you have to discard your entire hand. But you get to discard your hand in whatever order you want. So you put them face down, or face up, in the order that you want, knowing you can and you can look through your discard at any time, but you can't adjust it. You can't change where the cards are, and you can put the cards down betting on the fact that I'm going to draw these 3 or 4 cards in a row, or 5 cards in a row, and these are the cards I'm going to want in my hand. And you can strategize that with what other players are doing that you're playing with, in the hopes of, okay, you're going to do that, okay, I can piggyback on top of that with my abilities, and so on and so forth. So that's that's the really cool thing about this game, and I'm going to mention that in the conclusion a lot. I absolutely love that, but regardless, moving forward. So, there is one other thing. There is this turn order deck. Now, with 4 players, you have this little thing you see, this player 1. That doesn't mean you're the first player, it just means that you are like player number 1. And in this deck, there is a card that says player number 1. There's also a card, because I'm pretending I'm playing a 4-player game. There is a card that says player number 2, there's a card that says player number 3, and there's a card that says player number 4. There's also 2 Nemesis cards, because there are going to be that act. So you're going to go through this entire deck before you reshuffle it and put it all together, meaning that the Nemesis guy gets to go twice for each one action that they do. Now, if you're playing a 2-player game, both players would have 2 cards in there. There'd be 2 player 1 and 2 player 2 cards in there. And if you're playing a 3-player game, there'd be a player 1, a player 2, a player 3, and a wild card in there. The wild card means that the players decide amongst themselves which player will get an extra turn for that run through of this deck. And so you just go ahead and create that, you set it aside, and that's how you're going to begin. You determine who gets to go first, and so on and so forth. Alright, so just some other things you can see here. As I said, this is the tableau of cards that you'll be collecting. These are like the tokens you use to mark down the damage that your person takes. These are power tokens. Sometimes your big bad here will put a power into play, and it'll say it'll last 2 turns. You put those tokens on there, and each turn you'll take one off until you finally run out, and then you can discard that particular card. There's also minions that your bad guy will summon, and you'll use the hit point tracker on those. So if they have 5 hit points, you'll put 5 hit points on there, and you can do damage to it to kill that minion and get rid of his ability, get rid of his power. As I said, the big bad has 70 hit points, and you just track that, and also the city has 30 hit points, and you track that as well. And so you kind of keep track using that life track over there for both those. Notice that the players aren't on there. The players, you'll just put the points of damage as they happen on there. So basically what happens on a turn is you're going to turn this card over, and I'm going to see what I get here. So I actually shuffled that. I did not cheat, and I have player number 1. So I would go, and then so player number 1, you're going to do what you've done in deck builder after deck builder after deck builder. You're going to look at your starting hand, and my starting hand is that I have a crystal shard, and I have an amethyst shard, because that's what my character starts with. And my amethyst shard, so the crystal shards, I should say, hold on, crystal shard, it's just one money, one of these little resources that allows you to purchase those things. And so then like the amethyst shard, you can see it says you can gain 1, but you may return any card that costs 0 in any ally's discard pile into their hand. So if this is one of those things where it might have been better if I didn't go first, because then I could have, like, somebody else gone first. I could say I'm going to play this, and then I get to help out my buddy and give them back their card. So then maybe on the next turn they're going to have because obviously these things cost 0. They'd have more money at their disposal with more crystals in their hand. But okay, and then also we have a couple of just pretty standard spells. They're 0 like spells that cost 0 to put down or buy, and they just deal 1 damage. It's just pretty basic. Now, the big thing is that, obviously the real basic way of winning is you just beat down the Prince of Gluttony, knock his hit points down to 0, and then you'll win the game. However, if you can get through his entire deck, and he has no minions and no power or anything else like that, and basically he can't draw a card, then you win the game as well. So it is a longevity thing, like if you can just survive as well. So on your turn, what you're going to do is, I'm going to take, my one spell, and I'm going to put it in my open breach, because why wouldn't I? Might as well put it there, because then next turn I can cast that spell, and I can do a point of damage to the old Prince of Gluttony. And then I'm going to look, and I have 3 money. And so with 3 money, what can I do? I can purchase, I can buy this Phoenix Flame spell, and then, and it says deal 2 damage. You may lose 1 charge and deal 2 additional damage. And I should explain charges, actually. Thank you very much, game, for reminding me that. So charges, something else that you can do on your turn is you notice that there's these little track marks down here where it says like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. You might not be able to see that, but here, I'll show you this one instead. So here on Brahma. So you can see there's these little 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 across the board. These are those charges. And then they have this special ability, activate during your main phase. Any player gains 4 life. Now, to do this ability, you have to fully charge up down here. And so, if I wanted to, you can spend 2, And then you just take one of these little tokens and you just put it over the top like that to show that you've charged up that particular spot. And then you can slowly build that up. And he has a Terminus Ward. Activate during the Nemesis draw phase after a Nemesis attack or power card is drawn, but before it is resolved, you may discard it, and it has no effect. This is my favorite character to play. I like Adelheim, basically because he's like that last stand kind of situation where, like, when I play him, any extra power I can divest into this seems to be just the best option I have, because there are so many really rough and tumble things that you can pull across in that deck that you want to make sure that you can protect against it. So that's another thing you can do on your turn. But, you know, here we're just starting out, so, you know, maybe I want an extra power, or, you know, I can take like a Jade Gem that's worth 2 when I get them back into my hand. And then as the gems increase, they actually get more and more powerful. Not only, like, here's the Clouded Sapphire. It costs 6 to buy, but you gain 3 when you put it down. But if this is the first time you have played a Clouded Sapphire this turn, an ally gains 1 charge. So these are powerful things. You can give people charges by playing those. And so I like this about this game, is that it seems like every card has like a couple of functions or whatever. They kind of, you know, it isn't you know, super straightforward. It isn't like classical Dominion, gain 1 buy, gain 1 action. You know, this game seems to kind of spin everything a little bit differently, and it seems to have nuances upon like nuances, if you will. But anyway, so I've gone ahead and done that. Now, the other option I could do is with my 3, I could, you know, if I could see if I could maybe focus. So I have a 4 focus, I have a 3 focus, and I have a 2 focus. But if I went ahead and focused this Closed Breach, I'd be able to turn it like so. So I'd get it closer to being open for cheap. And now because I focused it with my 3, so like technically what I should have done is I should have put these cards down like so to show that I've used them. And then I'd go ahead and put my other spell in there. And that would be my turn. And so the next turn I'd be able to cast my spells. This Spark would do 1 damage, and this Spark would do 1 damage, but it's on the breach that has a +1, so it would do 2. I'd be able to do 3 damage to the Prince of Gluttony on my next turn. So then I go ahead and I take these cards, and I'm going to go ahead and place them down. I want to get this Amethyst card. I want to make sure it's on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and put that one right there, and then I'm going to put like so. Now, there are cards that allow you to thin your deck, just like any other deck builder. Classic strategies of getting rid of cards that aren't so good, so you can have better ones at your disposal. Like you can get rid of these sparks, get rid of these crystals, so you can keep your big guns going. But I found in this game, because of the fact that you can strategize, both, one, thinning your deck is a lot easier because you can always make sure you have like a crummy card. You can kind of strategize easier to make sure you have something worth thinning. And 2, you have like thinning isn't necessarily have to be done because of the fact that since you are always kind of setting up your deck as you're discarding, you can go ahead and do that process. Now I should mention, let's just say I didn't do that. I'm just gonna leave it there. But let's say I bought that Phoenix Flame card. When you buy a card, you have to place it in the discard first, like so. You can't put it in the middle and then figure out where you're going to have to play it. So if I had bought a card and then I put these down, I'd have to do that. So the card that I purchased would be on the top in that situation. So I'd be done with my turn. I go ahead and pick up my next 5 cards because I know exactly what they are. They're going to be 5 crystal cards because that is what Adelheim says that he has. And then the next player would, you know, then I shouldn't say next player. We'd go ahead and turn the next card over. And here we have, oh, that's the wrong card. I apologize. We'd have Player 4 would go, and so Player 4 would do something. I'm just kind of getting through this till I find a Nemesis. Ah, there we go, a Nemesis card. So now we have a Nemesis card. So the first thing we're going to do is if the Nemesis had any powers, if he had any minions out there that were like kind of, you know, stewing around and doing stuff to us, we would go through that process and we would have those effects take place. And the thing is that this deck actually gets set up with cards that are specific to the Prince of Gluttony and also some generic cards that all the evil guys will get. And the cards will, at the very bottom of the deck, at the very top of the deck, you can see there's this little 1 there, meaning they're kind of like level 1 cards. And then in the middle, you're going to see that there's level 2, and then all the way to the bottom, you can see there's level 3, and they obviously get progressively tougher and tougher as it progresses. So the very first card, we'll turn it over after we've gone through and seen what we've done. So now we have an Eye of Nothing, a power card. And so to discard, well, first of all, it says power to unleash twice. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to place that on there like so, and we're going to go ahead and put these 2 power tokens on there to show that it's going to be around for 2 phases. We're going to have this affect us twice. But there is usually, let me take these off so I can show you this. There is usually a way for a player to get rid of it. So to discard, any player can destroy 2 crystals in their hand and then suffer 4 damage, and then they can get rid of this. Now, if they don't, and this power card goes off, you can see it says unleash twice. Now, maybe saying, well, unleash, what does that mean? Well, each of these bad guys, let me just go ahead and put this back down. Each of these bad guys has an unleash power, and so it's different for each one. And so here we have unleash, like for 2 players, and so on and so forth. We have 3 or 4. So devour 2 cards from the least expensive supply pile. So if the turn came and we were like, all right, so we didn't get rid of that, and we're going to unleash twice. We look at what's the least, we're going to go ahead and unleash twice, which we're going to devour 2 cards. 1, 2, and 3, 4. And we would take those cards and we'd place them into his belly like so. And then remember, we can get those out of the belly by spending. But the thing is that obviously that's a bad deal. Why is that a bad deal? Because, let's go ahead and look at this guy. So it says right here that when Prince of Gluttony would devour a card from a supply pile that is empty, Gravehold suffers 2 damage per card instead. For example, devouring 2 cards from a supply pile with only 1 card. And so, so if we ever got down, if that power enacted again, and we had 1 card in there, and we were supposed to devour this 1, and then we would have to take 2 damage. Go down to 28. Oops, 28. For a Gravehold in that situation. Now, the thing is, that's not the only way that the Prince of Gluttony does those things, since his specific cards actually have certain things that actually are thematic, if you will. So Gorge, it's an attack. Now attacks just happen, they aren't like a power card where they stay, but a Gorge says devour 2 cards each from 2 different supply piles. So he would just go ahead and chomp on a bunch more cards. He has minions, and minions, as I said, you can attack those. That's not a specific minion. Here, let me find a specific minion to the Prince of Gluttony. So here we have the Thought Biter. He's a minion, and it's persistent. So any player suffers 2 damage, so you have to decide. Or if he this is if you come across the minion shows up. So the minion beginning the turn. This is a persistent attack, so we haven't taken care of the Thought Biter. Any player suffers 2 damage, so you pick 1 player, they take 2 damage, or you can devour 2 relics from the least expensive relic supply pile. And so you can see that, once again, thematically, we have this situation of these cards, these resources that we're counting on being there, are getting eaten up by the bad guy. And so here's a level 3, the Memory Eater minion. This is level 3, so we wouldn't run into that until later on in the game. The player with the lowest life suffers damage equal to the number of empty supply piles. So you can probably guess, 1, if we have been buying these, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot a little bit, but also, if we haven't taken care of this stuff this gluttony, this unleash attack that he has, and plus his minions and powers and what have you, there's going to be a player that's probably going to get wiped out because of the fact that most, if not all, close to all. Because remember, if we ran out of these, we'd be out. But a lot of these would be plumbed of all the cards out of there. And so that's what makes this game kind of fun, and is that it's one of those things where it's you need to buy stuff out of there, but you don't want to really buy it out of there. You want to buy it as belly almost, because of the fact that the belly doesn't really count as a supply pile. You can get the stuff out of there. You don't want to make it easier for him to win the game, if you follow what I'm saying. So, and each one of the little Nemesis, the little nameless people, have that little trickery to it. Where it isn't just going to be a straightforward brawl. It's something where you're going to have to work together with the other players to, pull off the win. And this is one of those co-op games that did satisfy one of my very basic concerns of any co-op game that I play. The first time I play, it should totally kick my ass. And, excuse my language, and this one totally did. But, you know what? I love the theme. I love the art. I love the spin that it's done to the classic deck building mechanisms, and I love everything about this game. So let me talk more about all of that in my conclusion, and I'll do that right now. Oh, that's face up. Cool. All right, so there you go. That is Aeon's End. I'm pretty sure you guys should have a good idea of how the game is. Oh, man, I don't want to show that. It's face up. Awesome. Alright, so that's Aeon's End. You should have a good idea of how to play the game. I didn't want to go through each and every step of the game. I didn't want to go through like 7 or 8 different turns. Just suffice it to say, the basic mechanisms stay the same, but the game difficulty ramps straight up, and that's what a good co-op game should do. A game should like take it easy on you right away at the beginning, kind of like, put those little kid gloves on and mittens and kind of bat you around a little bit. But, pretty soon, take those off, show the claws, and start ripping you apart. And as I said, this game totally kicked our butts the first time we played it. And then we came back and played it again, and we lost, and came back and played it again, and we lost, and came back and played it again, and we lost, and so on and so forth, until we finally won, and then it felt like an achievement. And that's what a good co-op game should do. It should make you feel like you accomplished something. I have very strict rules with my cooperative games. It needs to kick my butt the first time I play. If it's like a 4-player game, I should lose 3 times out of 4, because if I'm playing a 4-player game and everybody's equal ability, you should lose the game 3 times out of 4 in a normal sitting, and so competitive, like cooperatively, I should still lose the game 3 out of 4 times. That's the way I feel. I don't want a cooperative game to take it easy on me. And bottom line is, the last thing is, I don't want there to be like basically one person telling everybody what to do. Now that can exist in any gaming group, but some cooperative games do a better job of separating it. Basically taking away that general role of, okay, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. This game, removes itself from that possibility a great deal, because of the fact that it processes, like, each player kind of has their own thing that they do. Like I showed you, like with Adelheim, like basically he has that one cool special power. The special power kind of separates them out. But the thing is also is that because of the random turn order, you can't really depend on the fact, okay, well, this turn the medic's going to go here, because that's what he's going to do, and then this turn the scientist is going to go there. You can't plan like that. So that turn order thing, I love it. It's just like you could have a bad luck turn where it's like all of a sudden you get your 2, Nemesis or cards come up first, and so like you spend the rest of the turn kind of picking up the pieces, if you will, or they might go last, and so it's one of those things where it keeps you on your toes, and you never really can really plan for how a turn's going to go, if you will. Now, full disclosure time. I'm just going to say this really quickly. So, if you have watched my videos before, I have been doing this for quite a long time, but maybe you haven't. Cool. If this is the first time ever, awesome. But if you watched my stuff before, you know that, like, I do a weekly show, and on that weekly show, Travis Chance from Action Phase Games is on there. I go to conventions. If you see me at conventions, you probably see me hanging out with Travis Chance and Nick Little, the guys who run Action Phase Games, and this is an Action Phase Games game. Now, some people will say, well, they're your buddies, you're going to, like, say the game's awesome. Well, I'll fully admit that, they are my buddies. But the thing is that you can ask Travis when he's shown me games, I've said, this isn't a good game, Travis. I've told him that straight to his face. So, but the thing is also, is that when he approached me about this game, he's like, hey, we got this new game coming out. It's about, like, big giant demons attacking this city, and I was like, oh, okay, tell me more. Well, there's, like, spellcasters, and they're casting spells, and you gotta, like, fight this last man standing type of battle. I was like, okay, go on. And it's a deck builder. I was like, I'll take a pass on this one, buddy. He's like, no. No, I totally, like, we met up with the designer for this one. This is, like, it totally spins deck builders on its ear. It's like, it's not like anything you've ever played. I was like, Travis, no, no, no. He's like, come on, you gotta try it out. It's really gonna be awesome. You're gonna love it. And I was like, all right, send it to me. And so he did. And it did! Okay, so there you go, Travis. It did actually make me want to play a deck builder again. I got done playing this and we lost, and I was like, oh, come on, reset it up. Let's go. We can do better this time. And then we lost again. I was like, come on, we can do this. And the third time we lost again, and then it was late, and we're all parents, and we had to get home and things like that. But we all, the gaming group, we made a plan. We're like, okay, 3 days from now, we're going to play this until we beat it, because it was going to be a Friday night. And then we did, obviously. But the thing is that it's been a long time since I've been this excited about a deck building game. The whole thing about not shuffling your cards, it's so simple. And there might be another game out there that does that. I've never played one, though. But the fact that you can kind of like set your deck and then work with the other players and saying, okay, so I'm going to put this, I put my spell on the front, and then this one that helps out with this, and this one helps with this, and so you kind of put that chain together that you want in preparation for like what's going to happen, and also what the other players are going to do, just opens up so many different avenues of possibility that, you know, it made a cooperative game, like, really cooperative in a way that, like, you weren't, like, just totally throwing it up to chance. You know, I mean, obviously there are some, like, there is some randomness as far as some of the decks, but as far as, like, being able to work with everybody else at the table and coming up with, like, a strategy as far as what cards we should have and what we should have available and which cards we should buy to put in our decks and things like that, it was a very, very communicative game. It was a very, very, you know, like everybody kind of working together, offering suggestions, you know, coming up with roles and plans and what have you, that it felt like, you know, there's lots of cooperative games where you're just playing it and it's just like, okay, we got to put out this fire. Okay, we got to put out this fire. Okay, we got to put out this fire. And yeah, there's some cooperation there, but it always feels like it's just, you're all just kind of working towards the same goal. Nobody's really like shaking hands and like actually cooperating and working together. It's just like, you know, you're all racing towards the same spot and you're all trying to do the best individual job that you each can do to get to that spot. But in this game, it actually feels like you're, you know, pulling people up to the same level as you. You're like pushing them up above you. You're like actually assisting each other, and with a purpose and with like planned to assist. You know, so I mean, I hope I'm explaining that well, but it really is one of those games that, like, every once in a while a game comes along and it just kind of opens my eyes and it just kind of like makes me go, whoa, you know, like there's lots of good games out there, and this is a good game. And there's lots of great games out there, and this is a great game. But then there's games out there that make me go, wow, I haven't played a game like this before. And that is this game. So, if you have any questions about Aeon's End, I'd be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. I hope I've impressed upon you just how cool the game is. I invite you to go ahead and check out the game on their Kickstarter page. Go to the Board Game Geek page as well, and you can kind of dig deeper into the realm of it. Obviously, there's tons of other cards. There's tons of other different heroes you can be and things like that. And so, you know, take a look at those. You know, see if there's... You know, if you have any questions about that, you know, I might be able to help you with it, but I'm pretty sure that the game creators would be happy to help you with those as well. So, there you go. Aeon's End. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. As always, I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, this is me, the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.